Hi everyone, this is Jessica Young from Bimser International. In this video, we will talk about one of our revolutionary solutions built on eBA, our transactional content management system. The solution is called the Contract Manager. By automating the workflow of the contract manager will enforce compliance and boost the efficiency among all the transactions of the contract signing process. So we will now log into Contract Manager using admin's account, who has access to most of the functions within the system. So one thing to be noticed is that in the normal process, we will have different internal parties involved using their own accounts to review and approve. And we will have, for example, a flow starter who initiates a contract, and then the contract goes to the legal department, and finally the finance department. But in this video, for simplicity, we will switch between the admin's accounts. Under the menu of the vendor contract management, we can maneuver through the archives of the contracts reflected in the documentation of the system. For example, we can also search and filter across multiple fields. If we search for 0883, that's going to come up with a purchase ID number and giving us full flexibility of how we view our contracts. And also, for example, you can move the purchase ID department to the upfront in order to make it more clear depending on the document ID to differentiate different contracts, or you can move the company name to the right. It all depends on you and your company's needs. So below that is a more detailed version of the contract archive for approved and signed contracts. So for example, if you double click on a signed one, you will see a PDF pops up on the right hand side. You can gain access to this fully signed contract. And also, there is a template caption map serves as a key for different templates of the contract management system. Next, we have the parameters involved in the system. So the parameter serves as the internal infrastructure of the contract manager. For example, if we click on purchase orders, you can see right now we have 4 different choices under that. However, you can add anything you want to appear that in the contract. And also, if you click on the customization map, you can choose either you want to send an email automatic to vendor or depends on your personal needs. So it is very flexible and user-friendly. So next comes to our main part, is how can we initiate a contract. So here, as you can see, we have 3 different form types: the signed one, the template, and the new document. Let me explain the difference. So the signed one is the one contract that has originally been signed by the vendors, and vendors sent out the contract to us, and then we will review the contract, and once everything is correct, we will send over to the next department for review and approval. And for the template one is the one that we don't have any template at all, and we don't have the vendor involved at the beginning of the process. So we need to create a brand new contract and fill in all the required information. And those forms will go through to the different department for approvals. And finally, after everyone approves and signs the contract, we will send out the contract to the vendor for the final approval and sign. And the new document is a slightly different than the template one. The new document means that we already have the template existed in our system, and we just need to fill out all the information and then send it to the next department for approval. And finally, we will send that out to the vendor for their signature. So in this demo, I will show you the example of the signed one. And then we can pick the vendor ID from our contract management system. For example, we pick the second one, and those vendor name and their detailed address will automatically pop up in the system. And we just need to choose the activation date, the expiration date, and the reminder, etc. And for here, the contract type, for example, we choose a non-disclosure agreement. And as you can see, there are many other types, and you can actually change and add or delete any type within the parameters we just mentioned within our data infrastructure. And then contract amount, you can input any amount you want, for example. And as you can see, you can add extra explanation to the contract. And here comes to some compliance issue. For example, if you want to add any penalty or conditions, is there any warranty or tax liability issues? For example, if there's a tax clause, for example, we set a 25% threshold for the tax amounts based on the contract amount. And you can add extra notes here. And then, since this is a signed contract, we assume the vendor has already signed and sent over the contract to us. So we can attach our contract here. We browse the system, attach this contract, and we click on Add for the system to uploading this signed contract to this form. Okay, now we can click on Send and Prepare Contract. And as you can see, right now, under the legal department, Michael Jason is ready to approve this contract. So let's go into the admin's account and let's switch users to Michael. The account has switched to the Michael Jason under the legal department. So under the approval section, there's one we just initiated, the signed contract. Let's double click on the contract. And as you can see, you will go over every details and making sure everything is correct. You can add any notes here. And after you reviewed everything and you think it's ready to go, you can click on Proof. And now, as you can see, under the flow history, the system will automatically pops up to the Ashley Hill under the finance department for the final approval. So let's switch account to Ashley Hill. Now comes to the dashboard of Ashley Hill under the finance department. And under the approval side, we can see the contracts we just approved from the legal department. If we double click on the contract, also making sure everything meets the requirement, and then you can click on Approve and Sign. So now the flow history, it shows the workflow has approved, and it will automatically go back to the flow starter who initiates the contract. So let's switch accounts to the admin's accounts. And under the menu of the vendor contract management, we click under the archives, and if we see the contract archive, we can view and see the new one we just created. As you can see now, we have everything signed and approved by all the departments. So now it's ready to be generated under the eBA management. Since this is a signed document, the vendor initially has already signed everything, so no need to send out to the vendor again. This is pretty much everything about the contract management. If you have any questions, feel free to leave us with a message, and you're welcome to schedule an appointment with us to do a demo. Thank you so much.